So I am Andrew Greenberg. I'm going to be teaching this class. I've taught game design at a number of different universities on a number of different levels. It's the first time I'll be teaching at KSU, though I've been working with Kennesaw State and before that Southern Polytechnic State University on game development for a while. I'm the executive director of an organization called the Georgia Game Developers Association. We put on regular events focusing on all aspects of game development, primarily video game, but obviously we have a number of analog game manufacturers, including my own company, as part of the association. So we'll do the first question for this. While this is a board gaming class, how many of you are interested in developing digital games? All right, one or two of you. All right, for the stream, that was pretty much 100%. All right, let me actually do the reverse. Are any of you not interested in developing digital titles? All right. Yeah, so it is 100% interest. How many of you are interested in developing analog titles as well? That can be board games, card games, tabletop RPGs, miniature games. All right, near 50%. All right. We'll be focusing in this class on the development of tabletop games, primarily board games. Since there are no prerequisites to this class, I can't take it for granted that you know anything. So in other words, you might be, I was going to make an Alabama joke, but I better not after Monday. I was going to say you might be from Alabama, and then you wouldn't know anything, but that's not appropriate today since we fell so bad. So I can't count on you to know how to program, create art, or anything like that. So we won't necessarily be focusing on digital. However, a significant part of this class will be looking at design documents, what goes into game design and development. And you will have the opportunities to write game design docs and the like, and we will focus on it as if they were game design documents. So today we're going to go over a number of pieces of material, obviously the syllabus, obviously the assignments, but I'm actually going to jump in and start with the Baldwin design document. However, I think in order to access it, you need to be in D2L. Can you all do that? If you're not in D2L yet, please go there. You online, I would recommend doing the same. Yeah, we got a... Already got somebody asking if we're playing Cards Against Humanity. That might not have been a good image to show during a stream, so maybe we'll change this and find something better to look at. There you go. We'll show the crowd. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's do it just a little bit. Let's change it to be automatic. I hope no one's getting nauseous as this is going. All right. Any of you object to being on camera for a live stream? So we're live streaming this out, unfortunately publicly, because KSU told me we'd be able to do it via some secure channels, but those don't exist. So this is currently going out on Mixer. So nobody's watching it, but right, we do have 4 viewers. It's not publicized. But if any of you object to being on camera, I'll be glad to ensure that you're never shown. So don't be afraid to tell me, email me, raise your hand, whatever. And you don't have to give a reason. I certainly understand if you don't. So. Oh, okay. How do you get extra screen time?
No, why are there people on the live stream?
All right. So I had agreed to teach this on-ground section, and then last week they asked me if I would also teach the online section, which has 40 people signed up for it. So as of Friday, I told them I would see what I could do, which is part of why Casey's here to help with the grading for a 40-person online class, as well as with you. So that we are live streaming to them. In addition, I'm recording it, and Mixer puts up what's called a VOD. In other words, they have video on demand. Whatever you stream goes up. How many of you have ever done any streaming? Excellent, excellent. I'm finding this a more and more critical aspect of game development. And I've actually used it to a significant degree for play testing on my own titles. But promotion, community building, input, etc. It's becoming an invaluable tool for game developers. And I'm amazed at how many people are getting into game development after having been streamers. So we will talk about streaming during this class. None of you will be required to do that. The online class, however, is required to create video blogs where you'll be doing just writing up game analyses. You're doing regular 100-word game analyses. They need to do those as video. So if they're going to be online, we're going to utilize the capabilities for that. So that's the reason for the live stream. And that does mean that you can theoretically access recordings of these lectures afterwards. So, if you can access the assignments part of this, there should be, I should have actually pulled up D2L myself beforehand. You should see an assignments section. D2L KSU, why don't they just provide that as an auto bookmark? Ah, well. For those on the stream, yes, you're going to hear some typing over here as we get things rolling. All right, so you're in this class. It is CGDD2002 15155, and for you online, 15156.
That's a question.
Yes.
I'm having trouble logging in. It says the domain isn't available.
Anyone else having this same problem? Okay. I guess the UITS, which sounds like the worst name for an info tech group, is going to be the main stuff. Have you had this trouble in any other classes? All right. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate you troubleshooting that for me. For those of you who are in, we'll catch up with the rest. You can go into the week 1 reading assignments and tentative schedule. Again, all of this is coming together rather late, so there will be changes throughout the class. And you can see the assignments. If you look at the last one under today's course introduction, it's called the Baldwin Design Document. If you access that, for those of you looking to get into digital entertainment, which again was all of you, this is a pretty valuable document. It is, so far, the most complete template of a design document I have found available. Mark Baldwin, who did this, is an old friend of mine. He's a PC strategy game designer from the 80s and 90s. He did games you might have heard of called Empire, Perfect General, and a number of others. So this is a little programming heavy because that was his area of expertise. And it's a little dated, 2005, so it doesn't really talk about mobile interfaces and the like. But it's still about the most complete. If you want to look at the games, here are all the different things that go into them. So when we're analyzing games, we're going to be using a few different methodologies to do that. And I like his. This is a good way to look at a complete focus on what goes into game development. All right. So let's talk a little bit more. I'm going to introduce myself a little more. I make my living as a game developer since 1990. I've been involved in role-playing games, miniature games, board games, card games, all sorts of digital games, beeping things happening online. No idea what that was coming from. And enjoy doing all of those significantly. I also run, as I mentioned, the Georgia Game Developers Association. We put on the Southern Interactive Entertainment Game Expo in October. Has anyone been to Siege yet? Excellent. We put on that. We'll get the rest of you out there in October. And again, while it's primarily interactive and digital titles, you can focus on analog as well. And we put on monthly events. We did an event at Georgia State University yesterday about the Global Game Jam. So there are 3 locations of the Global Game Jam around Atlanta that you'll be able to register for. And Casey, if you can talk a little bit about yourself and the Global Game Jam and the Game Design Club. And make sure the folks on the microphone can hear you.
Okay, sure. I'll just walk over here. All right, in case you didn't catch it, my name is Casey Luria. I'm a game design major, graduating very soon. And I guess a little bit about me. 27, I spent 8 years in the Army as an IT person, so basically more computer stuff. Got out, decided I was going to go to college, use the benefits, and I was like, what do I want to do? Do I want to do IT? And I was like, no, I don't. I hated it.
Apologies to the IT majors.
Yeah, yeah. I thought to myself, no, I kind of hated it. So, and then I found out that KSU had a game design program. I'm like, oh, I've only ever wanted to make video games since I was 5. So yeah, let's do that. And so here we are. I'm gonna, your fate is all in my hands. So I guess things turned out well for me somehow. As far as the Global Game Jam, that is coming up January 26th through the 28th, and it's really an amazing experience, and I really recommend that you all do it. And some of you might be thinking, I even spoke to a student before class. They said, I don't know, I've never even made a game before. I'm telling you, me and a group of my friends, our first week of college, we were freshmen, we did a game jam. We didn't have any programming knowledge. We didn't know what game engine to use, and we just decided to chew it, and we spent the whole it's a 48-hour event. In case he didn't say that, you get some sleep, but you basically just eat junk food and make a game for 48 hours straight. But we spent the whole weekend Googling how do you do this? How to game design? We didn't know what we were doing, and we ended up getting an internship out of it. So you don't have to come with any prior knowledge, and sometimes not having any prior knowledge will actually help you because you might not overthink it like I probably do now. You're just like, oh, I have a great idea. Let me just look up how I can do this. A great engine that we use is called Unity. I'd recommend Googling that. There's all kinds of great tutorials that you can just do during Game Jam. And this one's the global game jam, so there's definitely going to be some local game design companies who are sponsoring this. There's going to be people out here, so even no one's the point is not to go out there and make the best game better than everyone else. It's to make the best game that you can make. And if you form a group with some people or maybe some people you just meet in this class today, you'll sit there and you'll just, I guess I would say I had zero game design knowledge when I went into Game Jam, and at the end of it, game design was easy for me because I feel like once you go through a trial by fire like that, you look at everything. Like if you take this class or your first programming class, if you're in 1301 right now, it's like you pretty much did your game project for this class and the other one. So it just kind of is all kind of downhill from there. And you'll be able to rub elbows and meet with some people. Like, have any of you ever play Smite or Paladins? All right, High Res is a local company. They're here kind of in Atlanta. Basically. They're sponsoring the event. Tripwire, the people who make Killing Floor, and was it Rising Storm? Red Orchestra Rising Storm. They all sponsor this event because they're all Georgia local game design companies. So if nothing else, go out there, meet new people. Like, I suck at art, so I was glad I did a game jam. I met an artist there, and so now I don't. That's the reason my games don't have stick figures in them, So, So I really can't stress it enough that you don't need to have ever even looked at game design before a game jam to be able to take part in it. Also, as Andrew mentioned, I am part of the game design club here at KSU. Anyone can join. You don't have to be a game design major. You can be a communications major. I don't know why anyone would do that, but
That was my degree.
Oh, okay. It's the best major ever, second only to game design. So you can be any major you want and be a part of the club. They don't expect you to have knowledge. You come in there, you say, I want to learn how to design a game, and fellow students will teach you. And we have all kinds of partnerships with local game design companies. Like High Res Expo was just not that long ago, and one of the first places they go is for volunteers to work that event is here. And you might think, oh, volunteer, we got paid for it. We got to meet higher ups at High Res Studios and other game design companies. We got to check out some of their upcoming games that people probably don't even know about yet. So, it's really worthwhile. We have our meetings Thursday, 4 p.m. So this Thursday, we're going to have a game design club meeting. If you want to get some more information about that, my email is on the syllabus, and you can just email me saying you want more information about the game design club or even Global Game Jam. And again, I really encourage you guys to sign up, especially because we need to get numbers by Friday. We need to have enough people signed up for Global Game Jam by Friday to be able to use KSU as a location. Otherwise, we won't be able to do it here, and we'll have to go to some other campus. So please sign up. It's $25 right now.
But you don't have to pay in advance.
You don't have to pay in advance. But if you wait until the actual event to sign up, which again, January 26th to 28th, it's going to be $45. It's going to go up an extra $20. So it really benefits you to sign up now. And I can't speak for what he's going to do, but sometimes game design professors, if you do Game Jam, they let you use what the game that you came up with at Game Jam to replace a grade here. Like if there's a project, I don't know how many projects you're going to have, if any, but if there's a project 1 in this class or some type of a game assignment, a lot of times teachers will let you use the Game Jam as a replacement and get an automatic grade for that. So help you out in school life too. Did I miss anything?
That sounds pretty good.
All right.
So how many of you have ever taken part in a game jam of any type? Oh, yeah, we definitely got to get those numbers up. We did an event last night at Georgia State University, which is also a game jam location. And there's a company here, Finite Reflections, that got started at a game jam a while ago, has been cranking out games. Their games are results of the game jam. They have a title called Twin Cop, which is winning a lot of awards on the indie circuit right now and doing pretty well. Again, started in the game jam. So strongly encourage it. It is a great way to develop. I don't know about letting your projects take the place of your assignments, but certainly will at least be allowing extra credit for you having finished a game at the Global Game Jam. And finished is a very broadly defined term for the Game Jam. Having submitted something at the end is really what that comes down to. And as Casey noted, the companies are there, and students I have taught who've been jammers have been hired not long after the jams and gotten internships. As he mentions, the same as Mature with High-Res Expo. Folks I've worked with or taught have gone through there and ended up being hired by High-Res and so on. So these are all great opportunities. Where is the Thursday meeting?
Generally, it's in the engineering building, the giant auditorium, but I haven't got confirmation on that for this semester. I don't imagine it will change, but I don't want to tell you guys that it is there when I don't 100% know. So I definitely, if you want to go to the meeting, please email me afterwards, and I'll find out for sure for you before tomorrow.
All right, so now you know far too much about us. Let's find out about you. We already know that all of you would like to make digital titles. How many of you would like to be artists? Resounding. All right, good. A good showing. Excellent. Excellent. How many of you would like to be designers? Design, as we'll be talking about, is a broad category, but yeah, some sort of game designer. Excellent. How many programmers do we have in here? One or two. Okay, that's again near 100%. Audio. Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good showing.
That's what I'm good at.
That's a good showing. Very good. How many of you like to do QA? Just play games for a living? Oh, once I say play games for a living, the hands go up. It's not quite that simple by any means, but that is a basic description. How many want to be the producers? Those folks who just sit back, tell everyone else to do, put their feet up on desk, and collect the big checks. Okay, now hands go up when I say big checks. Okay. Production, producer, folks who can actually organize and keep people on task and on schedule are incredibly valuable in the industry. So, yeah, they're all of these are, and these are just some of the roles. There are a lot more roles. Obviously, community manager, stream. All right, how many want to be a community manager? You even know what that term is? All right, it's an interesting role. And community manager, streamers, publicity. There are a lot of different roles in game development now. For those of you who don't know, as of the last Entertainment Software Association study, Georgia had the 7th largest game development industry in the country. There are thousands of people now directly and indirectly employed in game development throughout, and that also includes the folks who make a lot of military simulations and the like, which has been very popular. We don't include the gambling industry, but despite the fact that gambling is illegal in Georgia, the people who make the gambling games are huge here. It's a massive employer, and a lot of folks who've gone through game development are now working for those different companies. So another good course, good route into the industry. So as I mentioned before, the focus of this game is going to be on the tabletop side, but you're going to have all these tools to think about digital titles. And if any of you really, really strongly feel enthused about making a digital type prototype instead of a board gaming prototype, we can talk about it. I don't want to stretch your abilities too far or those of your team. I want to make sure it's something that's actually feasible. One of the goals of this class is you come out of these with actually completed games that can go in your portfolio. They'll be prototype level. I mean, I would be working more full-time to get a game done in the course of a semester, but you'll have something that you can have in a portfolio, and the portfolio is really key to getting jobs in this industry, getting investors if you want to start your own firm, and so on. The work you do in school is great and will give you an excellent baseline for doing things. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people at this school taking these classes, and a lot of people at other schools taking game design classes, so it puts you on a baseline with a lot of other people. So it's what you do beyond that matters, and that's your portfolio. So if you start games here that you like and keep developing after them, that's to a good degree what matters to folks who might hire you and work with you down the line. So I'm going to go ahead and call up the class list, and we're going to go through attendance. And when I call your name, this is the only time you're going to be able to tell me about a game you like and why, because from here on we just analyze the game components as opposed to I like a game. So this is your one chance to get the I like this game and here's why out of your system. And from here on, it's going to be this mechanic worked or this mechanic did not work, et cetera, et cetera. All right, class list. Let's see who actually exists. Aaron Atkinson. Do you actually exist as a human being? Aaron Atkinson is a virtual human. And A-I-R-A-N, Aaron. Okay. All right, Mitch Ives. Which Ayers? Ayers? Am I in the online? No, I'm in the on-ground version of this. All right. Darius Brown. All right, you exist. All right, actual human being. Name a game that you like and why. And board, digital. Dune or Doom? Which version of Doom? I remember I was playing that in the mid-90s. All right. And why did you like Doom?
Well, number one, it was fun. It was fast-paced. It made me feel really good just killing demons.
Fast-paced, action.
It was the most fun I've had in a video game in a long time.
All right. Okay, thank you, Darius. All right, Jacob Brundage. A lot of non-existent people in this class. All right, Jared Coronado.
Aye, it's
Hey.
pronounced Yachty.
Jody, okay.
Game that I like is well, last year I loved Nier Automata.
Mm-hmm.
I loved how the story is and how the game mechanic and how the gameplay interacts with the story, and right down to the UI, how the UI interacts with the story and all that.
Okay.
And it's fun, mice in a blender gameplay.
Very cool. And pronounce your first name for me one more time.
Yachty.
Yachty. Okay. Dunnigan. Excellent.
I don't know why that's my last name twice.
D&D? Is that going to be your favorite game? So what name should I use when we yell at the back corner? All right.
My last name, called
Dunnigan of the No First Names. Game you like and why?
I have way too many games to list off, but I guess I'm just going to do the one that we're wearing the shirt for right now. Destiny.
All right. And why? Sorry, repeat why?
Bungie developed it, and I started with Halo. So
You never played Marathon? The real Bungie game.
The gunplay is really smooth, and it's good to play like starting, but once you get really used to it, it turns out to be really smooth, and you feel like you mastered it. The customization and everything. There's actually a lot of behind the scenes lore. A lot of people believe it actually does have a good story.
Right. Excellent. Okay, Lane Dyer.
Here. So mine's more the series, the Total War series. I like it because it's grand strategy, and it's one of the very few grand strategy games that combines both a turn-based strategy and real-time strategy.
I like it. There are a lot of these old school games. I mean, even when you talk about Destiny, you're talking about really a game that if they could still call it Halo, would still be called Halo. From Marathon to Halo to, it's very much the same game. Doom, obviously, that was long-standing series. So yeah, a lot of these games still continue to be relevant. Okay, Noah England.
Here.
The game you like and why?
I've been playing a lot of Mario Odyssey lately
On.
on the Switch. I guess I like it because you can just do anything in that game. Like, you don't just have to do the set story.
How many of you have checked out the Switch? That's a good number. How many of you like the Switch? That's pretty much everybody who checked it out. So that's what I think everyone's saying these days. All right, Christian Franson. All right.
My favorite game.
Doesn't have to be favorite. Just a game you like and why.
Dark Souls.
Because you like frustration.
Honestly, it's not that difficult once you understand the game. Like, after you played it for a while, it's not as hard as people make it out to be. But I like it because it's difficult. The plot is interesting, and it's not like, it doesn't really explain it to you. You have to figure it out. And it's just, it's fun.
Excellent. All right. Marco Garnett.
It's Markel.
Markel, I'm sorry. Game you like and why?
Favorite game apart from the Uncharted 2.
All right.
One reason why is action adventure shooter mixed with puzzles.
it basically had very gameplay features that most players.
All right. Excellent. Jordan Goldthumb.
Here. Game I liked was Zelda Breath of the Wild because I liked how open it was and I found it more challenging than previous games in the series.
You're an old school Zelda fan then as well. All right.
Like, here's an example of how open it is.
Right.
As almost immediately after it starts, you can go to the final boss.
All right.
Probably gonna lose. But
Yeah. Alan Harris. Yes.
Favorite game is Kingdom Hearts 2.
Okay.
And the reason why is that the combat in the game is the best in the series, as well as some of the best combat in an action RPG I've played so far.
Okay.
Although it doesn't have as much exploration as the original Kingdom Hearts, it all that went into its combat system, which is just, I already said, the best in the series thus far. As well as multiple ways you can play the game if you just wanted to breeze through the story, beginner mode, hardest difficulty if you wanted to. But unlike some RPGs, there's also a way to play at level 1 where you don't gain any experience and you just have to sort of just go through the game with what you had at the beginning and just play it.
Excellent. All right. That was Alan. Dakota Harrison.
Here. My favorite game probably will be League of Legends. And it's just because I love competitiveness and I love replayability. And like each game is different. And when it comes down to it, each game can be your fault and you have to improve on that. So that's why I love this one.
And you don't blame all your teammates. Are you sure you're playing League of Legends?
I used to be that guy. I used to blame my teammates, but I'm reformed.
You just love the positive, uplifting community.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and there's of course esports at KSC. You want to talk about it, KSC?
Sure.
Oh man.
Okay, well, so kind of a new thing. I mean, we've done some esports, like our own internal esports tournaments here at the school, whether the KSU Esports Club or the Game Design Club, either one. But recently, we partnered with Andrew in the GGDA and a new organization called the Georgia Esports League, where, for example, me and a few other people formed a Paladins team, and we at Siege, which is a big game developers convention that happens every year. It's fantastic. You should go every year. But they had the Georgia State Championship there technically, and we competed. We got second place. We lost to I think UGA it was.
UGA won.
I mean, we each got $500 scholarships for it. So I mean, like you can play. I mean, I'm sure League of Legends will come out at some point. Maybe I can't say for sure. I don't know. But
there's actually a conference in Georgia, the Peachtree Belt Conference, that has signed up with League of Legends to send a team to their finals. So
okay.
we might be seeing more of that too.
And then we'll probably, I mean, more realistically, we'll probably see more tournaments for it's the Georgia Esports League, so probably more Georgia created games. So Smite, we have Smite tournaments here at the school all the time. Internally, we offer prizes that whatever the equivalent of RP or IP is, I forget off the top of my head. And then Paladins tournaments. But I mean, it's a good way to just have fun. If you like competitive games like you want to form a team with your friends here, you just go and try and take on other schools and maybe win yourself some scholarship money in the process, or at least meet some people. Like I met people I never thought I'd meet. I met the people who made Brawlhalla. I met the people who made Paladins. It's just a great experience. So even if I would have came in last place, it still would have been worth it. So definitely something to keep an eye on.
And especially if you're the person who does not blame your teammates. That's a good skill to have. Nick Horsma.
Hi. So I think the closest thing I can say to my favorite game is Fallout New Vegas, because like how most action RPGs work is that it's more or less, hey, how about you go to this building across like halfway across the world, kill a group of guys in this room, pick up something, and bring it back to me. And after you do that, it's like, here's some money. You want to do that again, but in a different building? And like, there's not a lot of choice. It's just kind of like, you can choose different ways of killing people, but that's about it. But with Fallout New Vegas, it gives you a lot more open-endedness with how you solve a quest, how you end it, and like a lot better personification of like your character. More than just guy that stabs or guy that shoots. It's a lot more diverse.
And you can get freaky clown heads for your avatar too, so that makes it even more disturbing. Cool. All right. Yeah, an interesting story. I mean, that's a game that's moved its way through the industry in a lot of different ways. Aberrell, help me with your last name. Corella?
Corella. I go by Daniel.
Daniel?
We build up pickups.
Okay.
A game I like is Rocket League. Because it's a game that's fairly difficult mechanically. And being able to actually eventually do stuff is pretty satisfying. It just keeps me going.
Do you play competitively?
No.
Okay. And there are conventions in town for that. MomoCon will be coming up. DreamHack will be coming back. There are others, so there'll be opportunities if you are interested in those. Maya Lannen? Maya?
I used to be a hardcore Ellsworth gamer for 10 years, and then I went to mainstream games like Overwatch. Overwatch is the main one right now. Used to be Ellsworth. Overwatch, I love the graphics, and it's easy to point and shoot and heal. So.
All right. Excellent. Mongo, help me with your last name.
Maswan Gagne.
One more time.
Maswan Gagne.
Maswan Gagne. Thank you. All right.
I like Tekken 7. The base mechanic seems simple enough, but then when you get to like the competitive level, like the simplest thing that they introduce from the very beginning gets like expanded like so deeply that it just becomes like a chess game basically. Where you're trying to outsmart your opponent and stuff.
How many fighter game folks are in here? All right. Another interesting esports area. No, just enjoy them. It's a favorite area. We actually did the Street Fighter role-playing game a long time ago. That was an amusing experience. All right, Blake McCullough. Blake McCullough. Going once. You're out of Blakes.
Another virtual.
Tony McGowan. All right.
Game that I've been playing a lot recently, I guess, is
Holiday?
Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight, yeah.
It's just a very large map, very exploration heavy, and the combat's really tight, really difficult, and whenever you mess up, it's your own fault.
Yeah, next week we'll be talking about a little bit about exploration in games, board games, and otherwise. So, yeah, like those mechanics. Let's see. That was Tony, right? All right, Sarah Miller. Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
I like Fire Emblem because the story is really great, like the best stories I've seen in games ever. And I guess the gameplay is good. It's a lot of like, I hate to compare it to chess, but it's a lot like chess. But it's like more in depth than that, and like you can, like if your character dies, then they really die. Like it's not something you see very often in games like that.
I see a lot of head nodding for that one. I actually haven't played it, so I'll have to grab it. It's the only one so far that I haven't had a chance to try out. All right. All right, one more to help me out with. Adamola, help me out with the last name.
Adamola Loven.
And one more time, last name. Adamola.
Adamola Loven.
Okay.
I'll say a game that I liked was Assassin's Creed Origins. Because
Okay.
I feel like it had so much detail down to like the graphics, down to like gameplay, and then at the same time I feel like the same series.
Okay. Chase Peary?
Oh.
Peary or Perry?
Period.
Okay, that right.
Let's go with Call of Cthulhu.
Ah, excellent. And you're talking about the tabletop, not the
Yeah, I'm talking
digital.
about the tabletop. Because nothing's better than having a bunch of seasoned tabletop players who have no idea what they're going into, and then slowly over the course of a session realize that their impending doom is unstoppable.
For those of you who don't know Call of Cthulhu, the main goal of the game is to go crazy or die in the best way. So, the unwritten main rule of the game.
Yeah, the main rule is to win.
It's a rule that everybody breaks. All right, Thomas Pereira? Okay.
I'll go with The Witcher 3.
All right.
Just a really complete game. Right when it came out, it didn't have like any patches, any upgrades to like make it playable. Also like the story, as well as the side missions. They're almost independent stories within themselves, not just an errand or something you waste time with. So.
Excellent. Okay, Michael Rafi?
I'd say my favorite game is probably Sonic Adventure Battle 2.
Okay.
And I would say probably just because, it's probably the best Sonic game to ever come out, which is, I guess, a wild statement, but the camera angles aren't half bad, and the gameplay is actually enjoyable.
Excellent. Okay. Noah Schultz.
Probably my favorite game is Super Smash Bros. Melee. Talk about esports, that's like the hardest game ever made for an esport by like a long shot. It's just the fact that it's held up after 16 years at this point, and it's still played mainstream competitively.
Have you played it competitively?
I do play it competitively.
How well do you do?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. We have tournaments here, so you should do it.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yes, there are tournaments here at KSU for that.
KSU esports.
All right, Maurice.
Why am I not hooked up to this?
Yes. All right, no one talking while another student is, please.
I'm not really sure what my favorite game is, but I've recently been playing the Fable series with a friend, and I had forgotten how much I enjoyed Fable 2, mainly because the lore is really interesting, but also I like how they did the boss encounter where you have like waves and waves of enemies, and then like this huge escalation that leads up to a cutscene with an option to press a button, and if you don't, the boss gets killed anyway. But it's fun, and I like the whole moral decisions that you have to make between like a large amount of money, your family and your dog, or like the thousands of people who died, sort of thing. It's interesting.
Yeah, and dogs in games. The very first Fallout game had a dog you could try and take with you, and it's almost impossible to survive. And there are people crying when the dog would die in game, and going to great lengths to keep it going. All right, Jacob Stewart. Jacob.
I'm wearing Zelda, but I'm going to say Xenoblade Chronicles. I'm a huge music buff, and when it comes to games, and I love looking at music and audio and how games use audio in games. And Xenoblade Chronicles does incredible work with its soundtrack and how it syncs up with game events to like enhance the experience. Also, has a lot of great mechanics like exploration focus. You can get experience points from landmarks or locations you explore, and like the way it's a very, very, there's so many functions in that game that many games don't when it comes to RPGs. So.
And George actually has some of the best game audio people in the world working locally, and they'll probably be at the jams. Chris Rickwood has done a lot of TV and film work, but also Smite and Red Orchestra work and so on. And there's a group here, Wabi Sabi Sound, Ori and the Blind Forest. They've worked on Destiny and others. So a lot of good audio people here in town. So if you're interested in that, we'll hopefully have them out. All right, Zaire Taylor. Virtuality is winning again. All right, David Walker. You're not wearing suspenders. I can't let you stay in the class.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I think the best game I could probably explain mechanics-wise would be Borderlands 2, because I think that's the first game that didn't frustrate me when it came to dying, and it was the one game that I kept playing over and over and over again, because it was like playing through it by myself. I played through a little bit with my dad. I played through it online at least like 5 times for, I don't really know the reason. It was just fun.
Excellent. All right. Let's see. Chris Walton. Okay.
I'd say my favorite game is RuneScape.
All right.
Because everything you do gives you a feeling of progression. Nothing you do doesn't affect you a month from now, 2 years from now. Every experience point you get will always be there until you reach max level.
I almost live streamed for us an interview a friend of mine is doing with one of the RuneScape designers tonight. So I'll have to get you the link for that after Jonathan posts it.
Community thing. Like the RuneScape developers live stream all the time. Like they have Q&As they host like once a week. Get feedback from the community and everything constantly.
They do a good job on community management. All right, you're Chris, right?
Yes.
All right, Thomas Wheeler.
I have to say Super Mario Galaxy.
Okay.
One of my favorite games. Just the mechanics and how they work so well, and it feels so fluid in an environment that at that time had really not been designed before. Just jumping in between planets and using gravity in those sort of ways just really kept me playing.
Excellent. All right, so you now have a little more insight to all of your classmates. One thing I have found I'm really amused by is that the one prejudice gamers seem to share is game related. If that person likes this kind of game, I don't know if I can be their friend, but if they like my kind of game, then obviously we're going to be tight forever. And unfortunately, those stereotypes do not hold true often, but I have found that folks who have similar game interests will often gravitate to each other and work together. And we will be doing teamwork, so I hope you had the chance to mark who in this class spoke on topics that you found interesting and you might want to work with. And that will be an aspect of this class moving forward. So the way this class will normally be structured is we will start with a lecture portion. Then we will go into playing games. Sorry about that. And then we will end up in some sort of work session with you working on your own designs, you working on game analyses, or anything along those lines. This is a 3-hour class, so we will be taking breaks throughout it, and I hope you will continue that tradition on when you get into the professional workplace. We will generally be going 6:30 to 7:20, followed by a 10-minute break, 7:30 to 8:20, followed by a 10-minute break, and then 8:30 till the end of the class. And I do find it invaluable for folks to actually take that break, get up, walk around, do something else. Now, the advantage is when we're actually playing games, you will be up, moving around, essentially taking breaks. And when I've done this in other classes, it's not been uncommon for people to just want to keep playing the game into the next section. So you don't necessarily have to leave the room when it's time for a break. Just certainly if you're working on a computer, get up from that and move around from it. Today, we are at 7:16 right now. The next bit that we are going to do is go over the syllabus and the assignments, which I know you're all desperately excited to do. But before we do that, we'll take a break. We'll do syllabus and assignments, and then we will go ahead and get into some gaming. All right, let's dive into your syllabus. Those of you watching online, your syllabus is a little different, but not significantly different. Syllabus up on screen here. Yes, do contact me through my kennesaw.edu address. Do not expect me to necessarily see the D2L emails. I will try and look for those also. Theoretically, I have an office in J163. That's basically a bullpen. So if you actually do want to talk to me, email me and we'll set up a time to be there. It's not really an effective place for meeting. We'll try and find somewhere else to talk if that's what you'd like. Class meetings, you know that. Casey has introduced himself, and I do hope you follow up with him. He's been a great resource for this school. Textbook. Yes, only challenges is required. When I've taught game design classes in the past, I've had a tendency to argue with the textbooks because I've been unhappy with various aspects of them. However, the two authors of this textbook are friends of mine. I'm very... I do think of them as very talented designers. I'm very happy with what they put together. This book, both of them have spoken at the Siege conference we do. Ian speaks there pretty much every year. You will see down below the YouTube site for Georgia Game Devs. There are a number of presentations by Ian Schreiber up there. I strongly recommend them. A lot of good insights on game development and what's involved. So I will generally not be arguing with this textbook. I will be expanding on what they have said. I think they did a pretty good job with this one. David Perry. Who's familiar with David Perry and his Worm game? Okay. Much bigger name in the 90s in game development. I really don't plan on referencing these books very often. They're here for you if you want to look into these areas. Both of these optional textbooks really focus on digital and not analog. So it's more for your edification than for use within the class. The other resources, however, who here reads Gamma Sutra? Everybody here should. If you really want to be involved in the digital entertainment industry, there still is, this has been true since I began teaching game design a decade ago. There is still no one single source as good as Gamma Sutra for news about the industry, thoughts on game development and design, and so forth. You can get an RSS feed if you want, you can go up to it. I very occasionally publish a blog there myself. One of the good things is a lot of designers do publish their blogs there. So it's a good way to get a lot of different insights. Check it out. I will be referencing articles from Gamma Sutra throughout this class. The YouTube channel, Georgia Game Devs, we have over 200 videos up there on all aspects of game development, programming, art, audio, etc. So go through it on your own time. Most of the videos are an hour long, so they are full presentations. They're not a quick 10-minute digestible bit, but obviously watch a bit and go on to the next part. Objectives. You can read all of these on your own, but I think the basic idea is we are going to look at how to analyze games beyond its fun. Its fun is such a nebulous term. It is meaningless beyond your own brain, and even your own brain changes its definition of that from day to day. So we're going to be looking at mechanics, analyzing them. We'll also be using a system they use called MDA about mechanics, design aesthetics, to talk about another way to analyze games without saying they're fun, to talk about the different attributes of it. Whether something is fun or not really is meaningless in games. If you play World of Warcraft, at some point you have gone across that world harvesting wood. And there is nothing fun about it, but you probably spent 4 hours doing it. And it is a satisfying experience. It's not a fun one. There's no way to call that fun. But it's satisfying. It's a satisfying part of the game. So we're going to talk more about those sorts of aspects to game development. Fun is a nice thing to have, but there's no universal definition, and it ends up being rather meaningless in a real analysis of game development. So we'll be looking at other ways to talk about games and also ways to put them together, and that's what a design document is good for. Much of this class is subject to change. Again, this is all coming together last minute, and I'm sorry that this all didn't get arranged sooner by KSU, but as it is, this is probably the grading rubric you'll be dealing with. Some aspects of it might change. Specifically, I'm not sure yet how much we'll be doing individual game design versus group game design. That's why those final two don't say it. I would prefer they be group game design projects. In the real world, almost every game is a result of a team effort. And I'd like you to have that experience now rather than later. But you'll have to make sure that you don't disappoint your team. But those shall probably be the grading projects. Most of these, I think, are pretty explanatory, self-explanatory, but I do want to talk specifically about the logs that I mentioned in game review and analysis. The game review today is going to be using a specific rubric, a specific form that you'll be filling out. The blogs will not. I will want you to do 100 words, preferably less, basically one paragraph description. You'll go into a game. It can be one you like, it can be one you hate, it can be one you've just experienced. I would prefer it be a game you have played this week or the week when you're writing it, and analyze one aspect of it. AI is a very broad area, so maybe pathfinding. How do people get from place to place? Dice rolling mechanics. How does Settlers of Catan do the board layout? If you're stuck for ideas on what to write about, go to the Baldwin design document. Look at any one of his outline headers, and that is a suitable topic for one of these logs. I never want to hear, I like this game, I didn't like this game was fun, this game was not fun. That's meaningless. I want to know this mechanic was implemented this way, and here's why it worked, or here's why it didn't. So that is the basic degree of this. And you'll be doing 10 of these blogs. Don't wait on them. You will get more and more busy as this semester goes along. Crank them out early. I don't want more than one a week. I'm not going to grade more than one a week, and Casey's not going to grade more than one a week, but just do them. This is not an A through F. It's either you do it to the form that we've talked about, or you don't. And you'll get full credit if you've done it the way you've mentioned, or you'll get no credit if it's, hey, this game was fun. Any questions about any of the other grading parts of the syllabus? You can ask them now. Certainly feel free to email me if you have these questions. I think the rest are pretty self-explanatory. And if I'm wrong, we can go back and take a look. because Casey and I are both doing the grading, there is a chance that we'll get confused about who's doing what. If you don't see a grade inputted, let us know. It is your responsibility to follow up on the grading and make sure that all of your grades, if you've submitted something and you don't see a grade within a week, definitely within 2 weeks, let us know. Extra credit. Yes, I will give extra credit opportunities. You can come to me with those. The Game Jam will have extra credit opportunities. I think the most likely one is I will give extra points somehow based on you submitting a project at the end of the Game Jam. So keep me posted on what you do. And again, it's your responsibility to let me know that you've done something worthy of extra credit. Crowdfunding. Probably not something you see in most of your syllabi. But it is very likely that during this semester I will be doing a crowdfunding campaign for one of my games on Kickstarter. None of you will be permitted to contribute to it. If I find you have contributed to it, I'll reject your contribution through Kickstarter, and we'll have a talk here. However, kickstarting games has become a key part of game development, especially in the analog world. And I want you to follow the Kickstarter. I want you to analyze what I do right, what I do wrong, look at other Kickstarters, and see if this is something you need to be involved with down the line. If you have a budget for it, something I do is I just keep a Kickstarter budget assigned out month to month, and I see what I like, and I support things on Kickstarter. And if you're looking to get into game development, I'd recommend it for several reasons. One, you'll see games you otherwise never would. Two, you'll be helping independent developers. And three, when the time comes for you to kickstart something, they're more likely to support you as well, even just by spreading the word. So take a look at who has ever supported a game on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, something like that. Excellent. So what did you support?
I was going to say recently there was an artist that I was following and I really liked his stuff. And he mentioned that he was starting a game with a couple of his friends called Blue Omen Operation.
All right.
So I ended up kickstarting that because it sounded interesting to me. And I believe a lot of its mechanics are actually based off Paper Mario games.
Very
and
cool.
Art design is pretty interesting to me.
So something we do in this class every now and again is for good participation and discussion, we give things away. So I have a Smite comic book.
Okay.
There you go. If you already have it, you can give it to somebody else in the class. If you don't enjoy it, then give it to somebody else in the class. All right. Any questions on the crowdfunding side of it? When I do the Kickstarter, I'll let you know about it. But again, do not contribute to it. Punctuality. Apparently this door does lock. So if you're not here at 6:30, there is a chance you'll be locked out and miss chances to play. And if it becomes an issue, yeah, I might just keep it locked till 7:20, and then you will come in until after the first break, and you'll have missed the entire lecture and quiz. Quizzes will happen at the first part of the class. This might change, so you do them before you get here. But right now, the idea is as soon as you get here, you do a quiz. You have a quiz to do online before you come back to class on the syllabus. So obviously it is an open book quiz or open syllabus quiz. So I really expect that to be 100 in everybody's grade book. But make sure you do that before you come to class next week. Absences are standard. Accommodations, please do let me know if you need accommodations. That is not an issue. The game industry, we were a bit slow to realize that we have a lot of fans of all different ability levels and types. So it's become a major issue in the game industry to make sure we can reach out to everybody. And I think that starts at this level as well. And we have benefited actually by having people in the industry who were what they call disabled, the people who are colorblind, who are deaf. They have driven game development in a positive way. Withdrawal policy, KSU Writing Center. This isn't an English class. I get paid a good amount to do writing, so I'm not going to act as an English teacher here. I will generally pick out a few things to note of yours. If I'm seeing significant issues with your writing, I will direct you straight to the KSU Writing Center and just deduct points and say go to the Writing Center. Academic integrity statement. I hope you've seen that repeatedly. Classroom policies. Yeah, I say laptop or tablet use is allowed only during coding activities. We're going to be a little flexible on that. If you are spending your entire time on Facebook, I might change that policy. But some Facebook games are worth playing. Check out PrintSnapped. Communication policies, again, pretty clear. Email me as needed. Disruptive classroom behavior. Because there's discussion online for this class as well, trolling is also considered disruptive behavior and will be dealt with accordingly. So, don't. All right, that's the syllabus. Let's jump into the reading assignments. Pardon? If you do it well, like when they actually rickrolled the entire Macy's parade, which was the most bizarre experience, yes. If you do it poorly, no, that's I will definitely take points away for poor implementation of a rickroll. So, all right, hold on. Let's. Sorry, you distracted. Let's go ahead and pull up the assignments. Why are you ignoring this? There you go. Wow. All right, back to assignments. All right, we've already talked about the Baldwin design document. We've talked about the syllabus. Here are your assignments. Again, these are subject to change. One of the things that you will be getting from me throughout this class are going to be design documents. In fact, you're being assigned today, something is under my bed, to read before the next class. That's generally what your quiz will be on. Sometimes it'll be mixed up with the challenges book. Most of your quizzes will be on the design documents I give you to read. These are all digital. I don't find many good analog ones, but I know that you do have that interest in digital entertainment, and there's, in my opinion, one of the best ways to understand game development is to read how other people go about doing it. And you're going to be getting a mix of very good to very bad design documents to look at. And at the end of the class, you're going to be, and throughout the class, you're going to be doing your own design documents. So I want you to see what you believe works and what doesn't. A design document is not there just to be read. It is there to tell other people how to implement your ideas and your vision. A good design document isn't necessarily 200 words because there's nobody going to read a 200-word design document. It tells what needs to be told to get people developing your title. The Baldwin design document can go on for a long time, but don't expect anyone to ever read it. You want to have an effective design document that communicates what you want to create to the people who will help you bring it into existence. So we'll be looking at design documents with that in mind. So for next week, you will need to have read Something is Under the Bed, Something is Under My Bed, and be ready to take a quiz on it. For today, you were supposed to have read What is the Software Development Life Cycle, and have seen the case for board games on extra credits. I understand that the syllabus was not accessible until Monday. So how many of you have had a chance to read the development life cycle, software development life cycle website? Couple? How many got a chance to watch the case for board games video? It's actually pretty good. All right. And you hopefully also had a chance to see the Baldwin design document. I will only very briefly talk about the software development life cycle. This is something you can go into in other classes in more detail. How many of you have ever seen anything like this already at this point in your this stage? All right, in another class or somewhere else? Elsewhere? Okay. Yeah, you can't see that at all, can you? Let's blow that up a little bit. So there are a lot of different methodologies for making software. Because we're talking about design documents, I want to point out the ad that suddenly popped up. Hey, I got the link from Michael Franklin. I blame him. All right. Waterfall model. So in each of these are ways that software and games get created. So the traditional way software would get created is what's called a waterfall model. Somebody says we need the software to do this. We give you a design document. So at the very top, here's everything you're supposed to implement. The coders then implement it, waterfall method. They take the design doc, it goes, and at the end, they have completed whatever they were set out to do. It's exactly what the design doc told them to do. That never happens in the game industry. It does happen in the software world. Because if you're working for a bank, they want it to execute exactly what they told you to do and no variation whatsoever. Games, not so much. It changes. What's not on here is something more commonly followed called the modified waterfall methodology, which is actually a mix of waterfall and iterative. So you start with a design document, so you're all on the same page about what you want to do, and then as you move forward, you iterate. You start making different changes and prototypes and applications and so forth. And that waterfall changes as you iterate, say, this works better than what we originally planned on doing. The truly iterative model is just you do that the entire time. You don't even worry about a design document. You make an application, you say this works, this doesn't. You throw out what didn't work, you keep what did work, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again until you've got a finished game. I only recommend iterative and agile and Scrum. Those are all basically iterative methodologies if you're already experienced, because it is so easy to get lost if you don't have a clear vision at the beginning. For people who are just getting into game development, I always recommend some type of game design document so they know what they want to do and they get other people on the same page with them, and then they modify it as they go forward. And that's how we're going to be using design documents in this class. You don't have to execute exactly what your design doc says, but it should provide you a good, clear vision of what you want to do. We won't touch on the others. These are more applicable to commercial software design, business-to-business software design and the like than it is to game development. So there are groups who've used varieties of these. Let's see. 748. I want to get into game playing and doing your worksheet more than I want to get into video. However, the come on, where did you go? The Case for Board Games video is a pretty good video talking about the role of board games in game development. And I have used board games to prototype on a regular basis. In fact, what I have up here is my general prototyping bag. I'm actually working on consulting on a board game design right now with somebody. So a lot of different tools up here. In fact, these are unbelievably valuable for game development, game design, and prototyping. What are they? They are, let's see, 18 different colored meeples and resource points and everything else. Yes, it's a big box of beads. These can be used to mark everything. Different colors, invaluable to have different tokens as you need them. And more beads and markers and so forth. Every game designer, of course, needs hex paper and graph paper of various types. Cards. I've done a lot of card game development. Actually, the best way to do card game development is to get little sheets like this and get card holders and put these in the card holders. That way you can change your cards every time you want to. You don't have to worry about them folding or anything else. Just get a cheap little piece of paper that'll fit in card holders and get to work. Dice of various types and appetites. Index cards of various colors for different roles. And yes, there are pens and scissors. And a bunch of beads fell out. And yes, even card holders for the collection games you work on. You'll probably end up accumulating something like this, but this is great for designing board games and for prototypes for computer games and card games and role-playing games. And I've been using it for quite a while, so you may very well want to put together your own kit at some point. In a nice handy bag you can carry anywhere. And so I will have these available to you when you are doing game design, board game design, but I recommend getting your own as well and creating your own down the line.